Welcome to another battle report. You can see here we're actually playing at a brewery. You can see all the tanks and stuff back there, and hopefully that should set the tone for about how competitive and serious this game is. This is the uh, Sons of Bugman Escalation League. We're escalating up to 1,250 points, and we had 2 Bretonnian players and 2 Orc players. So the way we're doing this, here, introductions first. This is Roland over here. Here's Jack on the phone. There's Cyril. My name's Cameron. So we are playing this with 2 separate armies. So that is one 1,250 point Orc and Goblin list with its own general. There's another one. That's one Bretonnian list for Jack, 1,250, and another one over there. They're both playing Bretonnian Exiles. We're playing the Orc and Goblin Grand Army. So we're doing a 2-on-2, but it should mainly work just like a 2,500 point game, more or less. We're doing open battle. We rolled that up randomly. So just kill the other team and line up in a line, as you know very well. We'll be right back with the deployments. Starting with the Bretonnians here, we have a unit of Mounted Squires, a unit of Pegasus Knights, a Bombard. This is a Rude Dog, that's the beer. A unit of Knights of the Realm with a Paladin with a BSB, Peasant Bowman, and another unit, a big unit of Knights of the Realm there, and a Damsel, Mounted Damsel. This unit is this beer is a Limelight. We have another Bombard there, another Mounted Damsel, Knights of the Realm, with this unit of Knights of the Realm, another bigger unit there. I believe the left one has a Paladin with a BSB, a Mounted Outcast Wizard, or Peasant Bowman, a Duke on a Royal Pegasus, and over there, one more unit of 3 Pegasus Knights. Here's the Orcs and Goblins deployment. So way over the flank here, we have a single Goblin Wolf Chariot behind a unit of Snotlings in marching column formation. Boar Boys up on the hill, another unit of marching column Snotlings. We have some Arrow Wolf Riders with both Reserve Move and Feigned Flight. 2 more single Goblin Chariots. Oh, okay, put the beer in there. That's a Limelight right there. This is a unit of Orc Boys with extra hand weapon, and we have a Big Boss BSB over there. Another unit of Goblin Wolf Riders. These ones have spears as modeled, and we have a level 4 Shaman mounted on a boar, another single Goblin Wolf Chariot, 3 River Trolls. Then getting over to my army, we have an Arachnarok Spider. This is a non-character mounted Arachnarok Spider, just the regular type. Unit of Night Goblin Archers with a Goblin Big Boss BSB, and a level 4 regular Goblin Shaman with Elementalism, unit of Skirmishing Snotlings. This is an Orc Big Boss mounted on a Boar Chariot, a single Stone Troll, and a unit of 10 Spider Riders. Oh, and I have an Amber. Vanguard moves. These Snotlings move directly forward 5 inches. And these Snotlings over there move directly forward 5 inches. Strategy phase for the Bretonnians. He attempted to cast Earthen Ramparts and failed. Bretonnian movement. Pretty much everything just kind of advanced cautiously, carefully measuring it to be outside of charge range of all their opposing units, outside of the Arachnarok range, Snotlings, etc., etc. Pretty much across the line. That's about it. Bretonnian shooting phase. So starting over here, the archers shot the Snotlings and did 1 wound. The cannon misfired, and one of the cannon crew is now dead. The Ruby Ring of Ruin went off and killed the entire unit of Wolf Riders. They're all dead. They're over there. That is a Pillar of Fire that went off. Summon Elemental Spirit was dispelled, and I believe that's everything for that flank. Over here, we had a Ruby Ring of Ruin that failed, and she also had a Fireball because she has Battle Magic, and that was dispelled. The cannon tried to shoot my Arachnarok, but he put the marker too close and then rolled a 10 for the first thing, and it actually went on the far side. So he aimed too high, and it hit behind it. Those archers took some extremely optimistic shots at my Snotlings and didn't do anything. And these are mounted archers, and they shot at my Snotlings as well and did nothing. Strategy phase for the Orcs and Goblins. He dispelled the Pillar of Flame that used to be there. He tried to cast something over here, I think Oaken Shield, and miscast. Did a Strength 4 hit to himself on the Shaman. Didn't do any damage. Then over here on the Orcs and Goblins, I was out of range of Itchy Nuisance, but I did successfully cast Plague of Rust there on the Knights of the Realm. Fated Dispel was unsuccessful because out of range of the Damsel. And I successfully cast Earthen Ramparts on my Snotlings. Orcs and Goblins movement phase. So starting that flank, we are, again, very cautiously trying to stay out of charge range of things like the Peg Knights and the Knights of the Realm and all that. So the Goblin Chariot moved up there. This hill is causing some problems, but there's the Boar Boys, Chariot. They've moved up a little more aggressively. These Wolf Riders are now right in the face of the Knights of the Realm. Shaman is sitting there. Trolls are there. All trolls pass stupidity checks this turn, so we're all good there. And a Chariot coming up behind. The Arachnarok actually just scooted sideways to get behind that low near obstacle. The Night Goblin with bows stayed completely still. These Snotlings moved forward. They could only move 5 inches because of the Earthen Ramparts, because they couldn't march, but they're just trying to get in the way as much as possible. And these Knights of the Realm could not charge the Chariot because it would require 2 wheel moves, so Chariot should be safe for this turn, at least from the Knights. Spiders come up here. This Troll went way out there, and I'm just going to risk it being stupid and running straight forward, because that's roughly where I want it to go anyway. All right, here's the shooting phase. The Ruby Ring of Ruin was dispelled, and the Pillar of Fire failed or was dispelled, but the regular Fireball from the Shaman went off and killed 1 Knight, I think, right over there. They killed that 1 Knight. Then these Snotlings used their throwing weapons and amazingly killed 2 Bowmen, even though they're hitting on 7s. Just rolled super, super hot. Over on my side, the Shaman here attempted to cast Pillar of Flame and just failed. Didn't need to be dispelled, just couldn't roll high enough. The Arachnarok Spider crew was actually in range, and they have poison shots. They killed 3 Knights because that Plague of Rust meant that they were only saving armor saves on 5 up. And then a couple of these front rank were in range too. They have the Spider Banner, so they're also poisoned, and they killed 1 more Knight. So 4 Knights of the Realm are dead from poison goblin arrows. They passed their panic check. They required the reroll from the BSB, though. These fired their throwing weapons and didn't do anything. That's it. Bretonnian strategy phase. He attempted to cast Earthen Ramparts and failed. The Damsel here, the Wrath of the Lady's Wrath, successfully cast it, but was dispelled by the Goblin Shaman. Bretonnian charges. The Squires successfully charged straight into the Troll. That was automatic. And the Pegasus Knights charged into the flank of those Snotlings in marching column. Remaining moves for the Bretonnians. Peg Knights moved up behind their Squires there. They moved back, although they actually weren't able to move back far enough, so they're still in a 6-inch range from those Snotlings, if we decide to do that. They moved back. Damsel moved back. The heroes here tucked backwards to get a little safer, just behind the unit there. You can see that. And, yep, that's it for remaining moves. Shooting phase for the Bretonnians. So that, first off, that's a Summon Elemental Spirit from that wizard over there. The Archers and a Fireball completely wiped out that unit of Wolf Riders. The Damsel there, her Ruby Ring didn't do anything, but her regular Fireball went off, did 2 wounds to the Trolls, and then devastatingly, that Bombard there, she noticed that he could not look out Sir because he was not next to a unit of a similar type. So he shot him straight in the face with a cannon and killed him in 1 shot. So that Orc Shaman is dead. Over here, these Archers in the forest managed to do 1 wound to the big boss on the Chariot over here. And then the Bombard also shot the big boss in the Chariot and managed to do 2 more wounds, so it's down to 3 wounds. And I believe that is it. Combat here with the Stone Troll versus the Squires. So the Squires did no damage. The Stone Troll killed 1 Squire. So I got 1 combat res from the dead Squire, and that's it. And they got 1 combat res from the banner, so it was 1-1. But unfortunately for me, they took a musician, so I lost. I lost combat. I got to take a leadership 5 break test here, and I really failed. I really failed. We'll be back right in a second with the. And they caught the Troll. They have Swift Stride, so that wasn't going to end well. They decided not to reform because they were happy with the way they were pointing already. So Squires are there. Peg Knights into the Snotlings. The Peg Knights did 5 additional wounds to the Snotlings. They'd already taken 1. So that exactly killed 1 base. Snotlings are unbreakable, so they gave ground, and that is where we ended up. We got this other combat here with the Snotlings. They took 4 wounds from the Duke, did nothing in return, and they were unbreakable, and they gave ground 2 inches, and that is where we ended up. Strategy phase for the Orcs and Goblins. So I cast Earthen Ramparts on them. They were really the only unit that had any danger of getting hit. Unfortunately, I wanted on the Chariot, but they're out of vision arc from that Shaman there. Also cast Plague of Rust on that unit. It was really the only unit that was in range, so they had Plague of Rust. Over here, the Summon Elemental Spirit randomly moved directly through the Orcs, so 4 Orcs dead there. You can see their missing spots, and I believe that was it for spells. Got some impetuous charges here. First off, these Snotlings are barely in range. Do they have to charge? Oh, they're okay. All right. And do these Spider Riders have to charge the Squires? Let's find out. Nope, they're good. And does that War Chariot have to charge? He's good too. All good on impetuous charges. Charge moves. So really the only one on this flank here is, this is 2 separate Goblin Chariots, not a unit of 2. They charged in on the side of the Duke on the Royal Peg. And here's the charge resolution over here. So since he fled, I didn't catch him, but I did move 11 inches. Not a failed charge because he fled. So I actually moved the full 11 all the way up to there and just barely missed him. Compulsory moves. These trolls here failed their stupid check, so they just moved straight forward. And that's it for compulsory. Remaining moves here. So real quick, yeah, they moved up to try to get as close as possible with a march move in the remaining moves phase, just try to blunt the impact of any charges here and mess with the Peg Knights. They moved forward 5 inches just to try to get in the way of everything over there. The Arachnarok moved forward just a tiny bit, made sure it's still out of charge range from those knights. Wolf Chariot moved up. Just some moves up across the line here for the remaining moves. Shooting for the Orcs and Goblins. That Chariot couldn't have anything to shoot because everything's in combat. This one shot, didn't do anything. The Arachnarok Spider crew shot here and killed another knight. That Knights of the Realm unit just keeps taking casualties from all these poisoned short bows. They shot into the forest, killed 1 peasant. They tried to throw their, whatever they've got with their throwing weapons at the mounted knights and did nothing. And that is it for shooting. And I covered, summoned an elemental spirit right there. That was also part of the shooting phase. All right, we got this combat with the Duke here. So the Wolf Chariots came in hard with lots of impact hits and unfortunately did nothing. The Snotlings, however, did cause 1 wound to the Duke, which is about all the Orcs and Goblins accomplished. The Duke had the Frontier Axe, which is a multi-wound weapon, and managed to divide its attacks extremely efficiently and killed that unit of Snots completely. That unit of Snots is completely fine, full wounds, and both Chariots are dead. So big win there for the Brets. And the Duke actually failed its restraint check, so he followed up back on in. Here, the next combat, the Peg Knights against the Snotlings. Peg Knights beat up on the Snotlings, so they now have 3 wounds left. Snotlings gave ground. And the Peg Knights successfully passed their restraint check, so they are now pointing that way. So at the start of the turn, this Summon Elemental Spirit went right through that unit of Peasant Archers and rolled the absolute maximum damage and killed 6 archers. He tried to dispel it later in the strategy phase with a Fated Dispel and failed, so it's still there. And then for the rest of the strategy phase, really the only thing that happened is the Damsel attempted to cast Lady's Wrath and failed. And then the Squires have rallied. They're back. And then this Summon Elemental Spirit went back through the Orcs and killed 1 more Orc, sadly, for the Orcs. Charge moves. So over here, the Peg Knights charged in on the Boar Boys, who successfully countercharged for 2 inches. And these Knights of the Realm charged in on the side of the Snotlings. They charged the Trolls, Knights of the Realm there. They charged in on the Snotlings. And the Peg Knights successfully charged the Chariot. But it only fit 2 in the front rank. Remaining moves for the Bretonnians. They did a very minor reform. She ran backwards. The Knights moved up a bit. And did your Paladin move back there? Or that guy? Yeah, just moved up slightly. Bretonnian shooting. So the Flamestrike Wand shot the Goblin Chariot and completely killed it in 1 shot. Pretty rough there. He also put down a Pillar of Fire. Bombard actually misfired last turn and rolled a 6 on the table, so it couldn't shoot this turn. That was part of when it killed the Shaman. Over here, I don't think her fireballs did anything at all. She tried to cast both of them in some combo of either, I think, failed to wound rolls, and then the other one just failed to cast entirely. And the cannon here shot the Ragnarok for 2 wounds, so it is now down to 5 wounds. We've got the Knights of the Realm with Paladin versus the Snots. The Snots killed 1 horse. Knights of the Realm killed 4 Snots. That Earthen Ramparts was really coming up big with those ward saves, made a couple ward saves. And Plague of Rust also helped with that last kill there. They gave ground, and they chose to follow up because it's my turn next, so they're safer in combat. All right, we got the... hang on. Okay, so they're fine on their break test. It's a 3, no worries. Airlet, so the Chariot got charged here. The Peg Knights did nothing. The Chariot did nothing. There were no wounds caused whatsoever. The only combat res is that the Chariot is close ordered. So I got 1 combat res, 1 combat. Peg Knights give ground because they rolled a 3 for their leadership. So they are good. And the big boss failed his restraint check, so he followed right up. Trolls versus Knights of the Realm. So the Knights of the Realm killed one troll with 2 wounds, and there were also 2 made regen saves. So that's a total of 4 combat res. Trolls killed 3 knights and also have close order with enough unit strength. So that's 4 combat res. The musician's dead, so that's just a tie. So we'll run it back next turn. Boar Boys versus Peg Knights. So Peg Knights did 1 wound. Boar Boys did 1 wound. And they also had close order, I believe. Did they have a banner? No, they got a banner. So they won 2-1. The Peg Knights gave ground, and the Boar Boys restrained successfully because they want to charge on their turn because their turn's coming up. And then finally, the Duke against the Snotlings. Snotlings are dead. They're gone. Duke reformed right there. He's ready to go. Start of turn template stuff. So Summon Elemental Spirit randomly went over that direction. Pillar of Fire, he got to choose where it went, so he chose to put it through the orcs. Killed 3 orcs. And then this one, I got lucky again, and it scattered through the Knights of the Realm. Did 3 wounds, but they made 3 saves. So no damage there. Elemental Spirit is sitting there. Strategy phase for the orcs. We recast Plague of Rust on that unit. And I don't think I can cast Earthen Ramparts on a unit in combat, so that didn't go off. And he attempted to use his Fated Dispel on Pillar Fire, and failed. Charges for the Orcs and Goblins. The Boar Boys went in on the Peg Knights. The Snotlings, too many trees in the way, charged in on the Wizard. And thank you for managing my cord there. They're already in combat. The Wolf Chariot charged into the woods to get those peasant archers. Rolled an awesome, so they fled. The Chariot rolled an awesome charge roll and actually caught them. Went all the way through the woods, passed a dangerous terrain check, failed its restrain, or its reform check, so he's just pointing that way. But he ran down the rest of that unit. And the Spiders charged 1 inch into the squares. Remaining moves. These archers finally decided it was time to move forward because they're out of targets. They marched, but slowed down because of the obstacle. Arachnok moved up, only a regular move because it wants to shoot the wizard back there. They took a full reform and went super wide, and I think that's about it for movement. All right, shooting. The Arachnok took shots at that lone damsel there who was out of position. That 1 poison wound shot did a wound there, but I couldn't get any regular wounds, so she's still alive with 1 wound left. Spider Riders versus the Squires. They wiped them out with their +1 initiative and took no damage. And they passed their restraint check, and they reformed. We got the Chariot versus the Peg Knights. Peg Knights did no damage, and one of the guys in the Chariot managed to do a wound, and the boss did nothing. So we win by 1 wound, and the Chariot is close ordered, so win by 2. Here comes the break test. Let's see what we got. I think that's probably a give ground. No, or fall back in good order. Fall back in good order. Peg Knights are actually leadership 8, so a roll of 6 is a give ground. So they gave ground. Sorry, we had that wrong. And then I followed up with the Chariot. The Boar Boys versus the Peg Knights. Boar Boys did pretty well. They killed 2 Peg Knights, and then they fled, I think, and caught the last one, and just ran them down. So they're there. And way to go, Boar Boys. Snotlings versus the Wizard. The Snotlings won combat. They did 1 wound on the Wizard. He gave ground, and they followed up. Okay, we got the Trolls versus the Knights of the Realm. So they killed 1 Troll, did, I think, 1 additional regen save. or sorry, 2 wounds to the trolls and 1 regen save. He did 3 wounds to killed that last regular dude, and did 2 wounds on the Baron, I believe. The Baron, yep. And he was also close ordered. So trolls win 4-3. Here comes a break test. Fail! A break. All right. He managed to escape the trolls by about 3 inches. So he's fleeing, and the trolls pursued and did not catch. Snotlings versus the Knights. They killed all the Snotlings. The lack of the earthen ramparts really hurt in this turn. And they tried to restrain and failed, so they're going to overrun, and we'll see what happens there. All right, so the overrun took them through the Summon Elemental Spirit, and that killed 2 horses. It was pretty rough, because AP 1 from the Spirit and 2 from the Plague of Rust. And they did pass their reform check at the end of the overrun, and chose to point that way into the spiders. Strategy phase for the Bretonnians. So the Summon Elemental Spirit moved back this way, and I chose to voluntarily dismiss it, and I released my Fanatics there. And other than that, Pillar Fire went back through the Orcs again, just keeps zigzagging through them, and killed an Orc. Also attempt to cast Lady's Wrath, and failed, only rolled an 8. And finally, the Baron has rallied. Turn back around. Bretonnian charges. So the Duke went in on the side of the Boar Boys. The archers charged the Snotlings to go try to save the wizard. These both units of Knights of the Realm charged this turn. Yep. One is Knights Errant, actually. Yep, and 1 Knights of the Realm. And going across the board, then the Knights of the Realm over here charged the back of that big boss on a chariot. That's not looking great. The Fanatics got to move during the compulsory phase. 2 of them were able to reach those Knights who charged away from them. And I rolled 2d6, got 11 hits and 10 wounds. And with AP 3 plus another 2 from Plague of Rust, they got no armor. So they're completely dead. Bye-bye Knights, bye-bye Paladin. Remaining moves for the Bretonnians. That guy way back there, the Baron, moved slightly. And the Damsel moved a little bit back here behind those Knights. So shooting, 2 fireballs coming out of the Damsel, finished off that wolf chariot.
1 fireball and a pillar of fire.
Yep, fireball, pillar of fire. That'll move next turn. There's 1 troll dead, 1 troll with 3 wounds. Yeah, the cannon did 2 wounds here, and the other one bounced and then just stuck in the mud, so it didn't wound it. So that Arachnarok still has 3 wounds remaining. Another round of the Big Boss versus the Peg Knights. No damage on the Big Boss on the chariot. Big Boss killed 1 wound of a Peg Knight. Wins combat by 2. Let's see the break test again. Here we go. What we got? 9. That's a break. That's a break. And he didn't catch him. They rolled a 10. He rolled a 6. So that's where he ended up on the pursuit. Alrighty, Orcs on Knights. So the Knights killed 5 Orcs. The Orcs killed 1 Knight. They live first charge, so they do not get their rank bonus. And it ends up being 11 combat res for the Knights, since they've got all sorts of banners and lance formations and a BSB and a war banner. And 4 combat res for the Orcs, so they lose by 7. And we're calculating if it's double or not, but you're definitely going to need some sort of snake eyes to avoid or to give ground. Let's see here. We'll be right back with that calculation. All right, the Orcs are not doubled out, so here comes the break test. It is a fallback in good order. Okay. And after that fallback in good order, the Orcs have gone full line hammer and are in a single rank, shoulder to shoulder, for this charge, with additional hand weapons. The Peasant Bowman and the Wizard managed to kill off those Snotlings there, and restrained, reformed. And the Duke managed to kill off his base of Snotlings there, and he restrained and reformed. Start a turn phase. The Pillar of Fire went through that troll and killed him. You know, it's AP2 and flaming attacks. They don't have a whole lot to save themselves. Those trolls are gone now. And the only other thing I did, not a lot of cast on over here, so I tried to cast Earthen Ramparts on myself, rolled a 3. So that's not happening. No spells. So for the charges, the boss charged the Peg Knights and they ran off the board, and he also charged off the board. Get him. So he's going to come back right there next turn. Peg Knights are dead. The spiders were kind of trapped here in the Fanatics. I chose to just take 1 hit from a Fanatic and try to charge his War Machine. I made the charge, but when Cyrilla was rolling the hits. He rolled 6 hits and got 6 wounds. So that's 6 dead spiders. So 4 spiders made it in. Very costly. I think I'd still take that, though, because, you know, just trying to get lucky, I probably would have taken a Fanatic hit anyway. So not great options. Anyway, they're in. Fanatics moved. So one Fanatic moved there through the other Fanatic. They hit each other. Miraculously, one of them rolled 1 hit, and on that 1 hit rolled a 1 to wound, so it's alive. The other one died. And then that Fanatic moved over there. Remaining moves phase. These guys moved up. My goal was to try to get him into the forest so that the Arboreal Gloom rule doesn't apply. And then he moved kind of forward and then used the Lumbering pivot with a regular move to try to set himself up, I don't know, do something useful late in the game. All right, the Arachnarok Spider tried to shoot his Damsel, rolled pretty cold, but still did 1 wound. So she's got a wound. And that's about it, because they march. They can't shoot anything. All right, spiders rolled pretty bad, but they did kill 1 guy on the artillery crew. Artillery crew couldn't do anything to them. Artillery crew gave ground, rolled a 5, and they followed up. So we'll play again next turn. Combat over here. Knights killed a lot of orcs. And did you kill any knights? You got 2 over there, it looks like. Is that right? Yeah, 2 dead knights. They're outnumbered 2 to 1. They failed the break test. They rolled a 2. They rolled the snake eyes on the flee roll, unfortunately, not on the break test roll. That's not the one you want snake eyes for. So they're run down, and we'll show you a sec where this ends up. And this is where they end up after their restraint checks. All right, command phase or strategy phase. The Pillar of Fire went through, didn't hurt the Arachnarok, but did kill 5 gobos. So they're there. Bretonnian movement. These just kind of spun around a bit over there, moved that way. This, what is that, a Baron or a Paladin? That's a Baron. He moved up to try to flank charge him at some point. And this is a Duke on a Royal Peg, right? Or a Baron. Another Baron on a Royal Peg. He moved up really close. These Knights of the Realm, I think those are Knights of the Realm or Knights Errant? Knights of the Realm. They moved around the edge. Knights Errant are back there. That's it for movement. Bretonnian shooting phase. So the Bombard shot the Spider. It hit it. Rolled a 1 to wound. Woo! The Damsel shot a fireball, I believe, at the Spider. Did 1 wound. Tried her laser attack, whatever that's called. Didn't get cast. That Damsel shot a fireball at the Night Goblins. Was very crafty here because it was just barely in fireball range, but out of range of my Shaman who's there. So no danger of dispelling. Only rolled 3 hits, though. Killed 2 goblins. And then she rolled her second fireball because she's both Battle Magic and Ruby Ring of Ruin. That one just failed to cast. So that could have been a lot worse. Only ended up taking 1 wound on the Ragnarok and 2 goblins. Combat over here. No one did any wounds. Just a total slap fight. 0 combat res on both sides, and it's a tie. Yeah. Okay, so the Pillar of Fire is so clever here. He cast it 2 turns ago. His wizard was out of range for me to dispel it on my turn. So it's just been zigzagging through here. This is like really high-level Pillar of Fire play to show why this spell is so good. It went through, managed to roll 6 hits, 2 wounds on the Spider, AP2. That's it. I can't take armor saves, so that rolled the last 2 wounds on the Arachnarok. The Arachnarok's dead, unfortunately. I really misplayed the Arachnarok this game. I was way too conservative. So live and learn on that one. And then killed 4 more goblins. All right, we're going to call the game here, since with the Arachnarok dead, they have no fanatics, and he's got multiple units of knights and several heroes. I mean, they're probably eventually going to wipe that out, especially with the help of the Chariot, but the Chariot's probably too far from the rest of the game to have any impact in the last 2 turns. So we'll assume that's dead, and then most likely all these goblins are going to get wiped out, and eventually this is going to be a win for the Bretonnians. Basically, I was able to take out Cyril's Bretonnians. Jack was able to take out Roland's orcs, but he had more left than I did, so he was able to kind of sweep around as we spiraled around each other and take that out for the Bretonnian win. So congrats to Team Bretonnia over here. Appreciate the game. Real just quick debrief on my part. Mostly I'm pretty happy with how I played. The main misplay I had was probably with these goblins and with the Arachnarok. I was too afraid of the knights just getting these awesome charges, so I held them back. I put them behind the wall. They were able to snipe. You know, honestly, with the Plague of Rust and the poison arrows from the Spider Banner, they were able to snipe a lot of knights and do a bunch of damage. But ultimately, that's like, what, 550 points between those two units, plus my wizards. That's like 700 points, 750 with the BSB. That's just too many points stranded and not doing work. So I just needed to move them forward a little more, take my hits, and get them engaged. And ideally, if I had done that, I probably could have helped more a little over here on this side, because even with these units barely involved, the rest of my army was able to take out Cyril's Bretonnians. So that was my big misplay. But overall, I think just, if you think of my half of the board against Cyril's army, relatively happy with how things turned out over there. I'm going to hand it over to some of the other players and get their thoughts. All right. So here's Jack. We're going to get his thoughts on how the game went and anything you do differently.
So I was on this side of the table, and I had some very successful magic. The spells of the day are Fireballs and Pillar of Fire. Pillar of Fire probably got about 20 models today. Really, really good back and forth. Some really, really good zigzag. I was able to pin his orcs and force them into charge range really well. The one thing I would have done a little differently is I would have reacted to his Snotlings and his Boar Boys, because the Boar Boys eventually got the charge of the Pegasus Knights and were able to end that. The cannon actually did all right, despite having rolling a total of 5 misfire dice in 4 shots. But yeah, I think my favorite model so far is Frontier Axe on the Royal Pegasus. And then, of course, the Damsel of Fire, just throwing all those fire spells everywhere. Great game.
All right, here's Cyril's thoughts on his Bretonnians and how things went in the game.
Well, they didn't go too well on my side of the board. I think Plague of Rust really impaired me a lot. I think you did really good with your wizard, and after that, shot me out of the board with Plague of Rust. And the Fanatic removing the last lenses really hard. It was really tough matchup for my Damsel against your level 4 also. So she had 2 fireball and she didn't do much about it with it. So if I had to do better, I would say more aggressive. I think I was a little bit more cagey. I think I should have taken the shot a little bit more.
That's funny because we both thought we were too cagey.
Yeah.
So we both
yeah, I think I should have got just like go straight up and prevent you to shoot me off the board with your Plague of Rust. Just like engage your wizard and in duel, in challenges and kill it ultimately. But fun game.
All right, finally, here's Roland, my Orcs and Goblins ally over here.
Wah.
What are your thoughts on the match?
Well, just don't get shot off the table first, and then everything will go as planned. It was unfortunate that my wolf riders that were protecting my shaman lord got blasted off, and then one cannon to the face. Couldn't have the Hand of Gork stop it to save his life, and then after that it was kind of a crumble fest from there. I did as best as I could for holding the line. The Snotlings overperformed, interestingly enough. Orc boys were great, Boar boys were great, but pretty tough matchup when everything outranges you on the charge and you don't want to make charges that are unfavorable. Sad flank charge with double chariots of mine, but they just whiffed on all the impact hits and fled from combat. But, all in all, it was just a great day out here in Concord with the club, playing with Cyril, Jack, and you, Cameron. And then, here's to the next one.
All right, appreciate it. So, over here. Oh, no! Let's start that over.